We are recording.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. I appreciate everybody's time. So, Steve, Mike, I understand that I had the pleasure of running InformMe with you guys, introducing you to that app back at TriCon. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to introduce you to Field Ops. Can everyone see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. So let's get started. Field Ops really is the second evolution, if you will, of InformMe. It's a much improved user experience and distribution experience. We've really spent a lot of time improving how we distribute Field Ops to the users. So do any of you there have an iPhone or an iPad with you?
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Great. So if one of you, we just need one of you, I'd like to show you really how easy this is to deploy. So if one of you would like to go to the App Store right now and look for Field Ops, and you will see two products for Field Ops, one for the Zerker side of the house and one for the Inform or TriTech side of the house, which is the one that you're interested in. So as I go through this presentation, just find that app and start downloading it onto your, is it an iPad or an iPhone?
I have an iPhone.
Yeah, I have an
Great.
iPad.
Okay. So what are we going to, let's do it on the iPad so you can see kind of the split screen approach. So whoever the iPad user is that you, Mike?
That's me, yeah.
Great. So let me know if you have any issues finding that app and downloading it while I go through this presentation. And then towards the end of the presentation, we'll try to distribute Field Ops over to your iPad so you can see how easy that is to deploy. So let's talk about what Field Ops is and how it solves some of your department's issues. So Field Ops really is an emergency responder mobility app that is targeted for the first responders and only the first responders. Our team has done hundreds of hours of ride-alongs and stakeholder meetings with the fire and EMS users to understand what it is that's important to them. It is device agnostic, so unlike InformMe, that only works on the iPad or the iOS solution, this works on an iOS or an Android solution. It's cloud-based, so there's no longer complicated SSL certificates. You don't have to go through the mobile server or bind any certificates to the server. There's nothing complicated about it. We're taking the best of the best, Amazon Web Services, which is used by a bunch of financial and government law enforcement agencies, and we're leveraging that AWS GovCloud to kind of communicate, if you will, between the actual mobility device back to your CAD system. Of course, this is extended out of the vehicle. Your services are extended out of the vehicle so that you know what's going on around you, situational awareness of what is happening from an incident perspective and from a unit perspective without having to keep that radio glued to your ear. Of course, it's designed for use across the Central Square, formerly known TriTech product lines. And as I mentioned already, this really is the next major release of InformMe. We understand that your users are not always in a fire or EMS vehicle. A lot of times they're maybe working a concert, fair, marathon, whatever it may be. You might have, do you have bike patrols out there, Steve or Mike?
We do.
So this is another great solution for them because it reports the location of the actual device back to CAD. So if you're using closest dispatch, as long as that iPhone or iPad is on, the app could still be running in the background and it continues to pass that closest, that real-time AVL location back to CAD.
Freddie, just to interrupt for a sec. So the Zerker one is the one that we want, not the TriTech one?
The TriTech one is the one that you want.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right.
No problem. Let me know when, feel free to interrupt. Let me know when that finishes downloading.
Yeah, okay.
Of course, you have your command staff, which are at the desk a lot of times, maybe in city council meetings. So it's nice for them to be able to just bring up this app real quick and see what's going on. Another really nice thing about this that we've heard from our customers that InformMe did not have is you can now log into Field Ops without selecting a unit. So if you're a chief and you just wanted to monitor what's going on, you could do that without selecting a unit. So I'll show you how that works here in a bit. Of course, increased safety. I already mentioned that first bullet point where your real-time location is shared to CAD. So whether you're on a fire ground, maybe it's a vegetation fire, strike team for your fire units where you're dispersed along a large area. Unfortunately, the increase of active shooters is happening, and now you have ambulance or ambulance personnel scattered throughout an incident. You could keep track of them. And it really is a mobile CAD alternative. This is a fantastic solution for those first responders who do not have a full-fledged mobile assigned to them. They do most of their business outside of the vehicle. And of course, this lets you stay connected. So just to recap real quick, our targeted users, you're out of the rig a lot, command staff, basically anyone that's away from the vehicle. And this is effective for any discipline, fire, law, or EMS. So this is just a screenshot of what Field Ops looks like. Of course, we'll be taking a live look at it here in just 1 second, but you can see that on the iPad on the bottom here is the split screen. Let me get my little pointer here. Can you all see this red mark?
Yep.
So the bottom one represents what it'll look like on the iPad with the split screen. The top here is the iPhone. Of course, we don't want to do a split screen on the iPhone. We have a good usability, a good amount of usability experts that work with us that advise that we should have a toggle that flips it from a full map versus a full textual representation of what's going on. So those are kind of screenshots of what to expect on the iPhone or on the iPad. You get all of the information that you normally would on an MBT via the iPad or the iPhone, and you can, of course, see what's going on in real time. So there is no need to hit refresh or manually have to do something to get the latest. It is always getting the most updated information in regard to incident information and unit information. I already talked a little bit about this, platform agnostic. Doesn't matter if you have an Android or an iOS device, you can run it on a smartphone. And when we say tablets, we're talking about iOS or Android tablets, not Windows tablets. This is not targeted for Windows at this time. Again, super easy and quick to deploy. It is CGIS compliant. I don't think fire or EMS is too concerned about that. But the item here after that, no VPN, that's another important thing. So unlike InformMe, which required a VPN secured connection, Field Ops does not, because it's using AWS for that encrypted communication. We already talked a little bit about this, so we'll kind of gloss over it, but of course you can see your calls for service, not just what's active, but also pending. So you can see what's in the waiting queue, not dispatched yet, what's in the active. These colors are configurable by your agency and indicate the priority of the call. You can status yourself via the app, so you can change your status. That includes transporting the hospitals. And of course, you can see what the real-time unit statuses are. The map is included with the product.
Back up 1 second. So the colors you said are priority, or you could configure them to be the type of call, like police, fire, EMS.
So these colors here currently indicate the priority of the call. There is a filter that I'll show you. What's nice about the filter is you can filter type of call even by unit. So let's make sure we cover that. Don't let me get away from this call without making sure you guys see that filter.
Okay.
It of course includes a map. So the map is included in the system, and it's the native app to the device. So if you're using iOS, I think that's Apple Maps. It's Google Maps. So I'm looking at my Field Ops using Google Maps. Let's see. Oh, notifications. This is a nice one too. So if you're dispatched to a call, even if your device is off, we are leveraging the native messaging services of the device. So if you have selected the ability to see the top banner, that's what you'll see on your iPhone or Android device when you get dispatched to a call. You could have it pop here at the forefront. And if you have a smartwatch, like a Samsung smartwatch, we can also throw the dispatch over to the watch. We're working on leveraging that watch to do additional things like change statuses, or maybe take the biometrics of the first responder and report that back to CAD. But that's in the down the road in the future. But right now, out of the box, you can get your messages on your phone. So let's actually look at Field Ops. Let me share my screen here. And let me Mike, did Field Ops download for your iPad?
Yeah. Yeah, I do have it.
Fantastic. So let's take a look at Field Ops here. All right, let me just enter this code. You guys, all right. So let me see if you can see my iPad.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So here's what Field Ops looks like. We're looking at a live system. So I could have dialed into my demo system, but that would have been too easy. We're actually dialed into Minneapolis's test system with their permission, of course. So I sitting here in San Diego, California, through AWS and dialed into the Minneapolis test system with no VPN or special certificates or anything like that. But we can clearly see here, let me get my little pointer. So here's all of our calls. We can see that we have our active calls here, and it's split than our waiting calls here at the bottom. On top, I've been assigned to an active call. So when you are assigned an active call, you will get your pop-up, and your active call will always be here at the top. As expected, I can select any of these calls and get information about it. So let's select that dispatched call that I just had, that I just got dispatched to me. These icons on the map are the apparatus, the fire engines in this case. This is engine 2, and then these little fire icons are our incidents. As expected on the call, you would see the time of dispatch, location, the narrative, what units are assigned. From Field Ops, you can add your own narrative as well by simply selecting that and typing it, or using the microphone on the iPad, which will then dictate it up there in the comment section. Even though I'm not dispatched to any of these other calls, just like in mobile, I can click on this active call here, Fire Other, and see information about that call as well. Using Field Ops, you can navigate to any call. So I will select this navigation button here on the lower right. And what that will do is it will actually go, as I mentioned, it'll go to your native mapping app. In this case, it's the Apple Maps, and it'll take me from my location to that incident location. So this is really good for an out-of-county strike team assignment. I'm sure you can probably think of other use cases for this, right?
It's going to take you a while to get there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Strike team immediate need will get there in 7 days.
So the there's a plan in development, I guess, to be able to pull Esri onto this, or to see some of the mapping from the CAD.
So that's been discussed. There is no committed plan to yet bring in the Esri maps, but there are other solutions. Are you wanting to show custom layers like hydrants or things that you have deemed important for your users? Is that the concern?
Yeah, and I mean, I guess some of that you could bring up with the location information, but yeah, I guess we're kind of interested in being able to see the same sort of view as they're seeing in the dispatch center.
Absolutely. So right now, the actual full-fledged integration with Esri is, it's up to Esri if they'll allow us to do that from a licensing perspective. I'll try to stay focused on Field Ops, but at a quick high level, Esri and Google, of course, are competitors. So it's kind of back and forth on having it on the same system. But there's other workarounds. I mean, you can see we're plotting units and incidents on the map. So we can bring in additional layers via Google. We can discuss that and in the short term, but in the long term, we'll start to enhance that map functionality.
And we do see, so we see all the incidences, and obviously on our end, we can customize what view a user has by login as far as the incidents, the disciplines, that sort of thing. You're also going to see the other units as they respond to a call. You would see the other units moving on the map.
You absolutely would. So everything is in real time, the unit's location, and if the incident location changes, that's also in real time. You'll get the updated icon and the updated notification here in your device. If we click over on the unit side of the house, we can see all of our unit statuses, locations, where they're coming from, and it's segmented by status. So we have off-duty at the very bottom, and then available units at the top. I did want to show you the filter up here. So another nice thing about Field Ops is I can filter by agency. So if your fire and EMS is split, you can either view both or view one. You can of course filter by status. Is my screen keeping up with what I'm saying, or is it slow connection?
Yes. No, it's keeping up.
Okay. Great. And then here's another really nice feature is I can even filter by unit type. So this reads straight out of your CAD resource type. So another really nice feature. Another thing that's been added is this search feature at the top. Let's go back to calls. So let's just say you're real busy, or you have a unit that's at a certain location. By simply entering a few parameters here in the search, so I'm just going to enter Columbia. Actually, I haven't tried it. Let me just try 3 characters. Yeah, let's see. Okay, I'll have to find out what's going on, why it's not finding. I have a few calls on Columbia. Let me try another here. I'll have to find out why that one's not working. It's probably something I did wrong, but I did a generic search here in the unit section, and we can see that it's limited it down to all the FEs. So if I quickly want to run to someone, I can easily do that.
So on our end, we can also control, like, the filters are what the user is actually permissioned to be able to see, and on our end, we could control what things appear there, right?
So I have an action item, Mike, for me to follow up on that and get you an answer today.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that's the case because obviously we're not going to let fire look at law and so on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. As far as interdiscipline goes, that's absolutely the case. But as far as a per user level goes, like, you know, a battalion chief can see X, Y, Z, but a line fireman can only see a subset of that. That's the part where I don't know, and I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Freddie?
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question, just a quick update. Based on the conversations that I've had with the product manager, right now it's a single view, so they do not have the ability to drill down into it, but he took a note so that we could make sure that this is functionality that's on the roadmap.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Dan, what functionality is that? The functionality to separate by discipline or by individual user?
No, discipline is absolutely in there. That's part of it currently. It's by the individual user and the user group. At this point in time, this really isn't discernible so that you can have, much like Freddie said, a battalion chief has a specific view in field ops, and then a straight line fireman has a different view. We have that in the mobile, but we don't have it in field ops at this point in time, but that's something that they're building into it.
Okay. Well, and just to take off on that, if you were to apply filters on this and then log in and log back out, do those filters remain for that login?
They do.
Okay. So you could almost, if some of the logins were unit-based, like the iPad is assigned to a unit, and you set the filters, you could pretty much standardize it on your own.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great. Another thing we kept on informing, so if you remember during the demo at TriCon, Steve and Mike, we had the swipe to change to your next status where you, instead of tapping and then selecting a status, the user could just swipe this here and then get taken to the next status. So if I swipe my status up here, you'll see it takes me to arrived. Once it updates here, there it goes. So we kept that functionality. We heard a lot of good feedback about that. Any other questions before we get back to the slide deck? I mean, in a nutshell, that really is field ops.
Well, so just to take off on that status for a minute, one of the questions that we weren't sure about last time was the statuses are programmable on our end. That's correct, right?
Yes, that is correct.
What about if so an ambulance goes en route to a hospital, can we somehow indicate what hospital that is?
Yes. So the first release, you're probably asking that, I'm guessing, because the first release of Field Ops did not support what we called advanced statuses, and those are statuses that require parameters, but those are now supported.
Okay. And the parameters can be pre-configured, like drop down?
Let me find out about that.
Okay. I mean, I don't know that that's critical, but it would help from a perspective of later on doing reporting. If you didn't have to type in the name of the hospital, it'd be easier to search on that down the road.
Absolutely.
It's not imperative.
I'll find that out. We'll have an answer to you. We'll have an answer for you guys today.
Yeah, I mean, it's more, I guess my greater interest in that is just that then communications knows where the ambulance went.
Right. Understood. Okay, great. Is my slide deck back up?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get rid of that there. Okay, so here's just a recap. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So here's the things that Field Ops currently does. Selection of a unit during login or not. You don't have to select one again. Real-time incident data and unit data, mapping, notifications, comments. We talked about that. Okay, so we cover all these here. This is just a high-level list of other things that Field Ops does. So view premise history here at the bottom, view pre-plans. These are things that are in process right now and pretty much released in the next version. So they're on this list because they're there, they're being tested, and they're released in the version. If you decide to go forward with Field Ops, would be in your version. This is a basic schematic, if you will, of how Field Ops connects back to your CAD system. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the Field Ops device uses AWS, and it goes through this thing we call Nebula, which then talks to the CAD system. One thing to note here is this web admin utility. I'll bring that up here in a bit when I get you all logged into Field Ops, but what's nice about the web utility is you, anywhere in the world, can maintain your Field Ops connected users or even add a connected user. So you don't have to dial into a system or have any complicated credentials. And while we're talking about credentials, you were able to download Field Ops straight from the App Store. But that's all you can do is download it. There's other gates of security, if you will. The next step will be a unique key that only the administrator would be able to give you. After you enter that unique key, then you would still need to enter your username and password as it has been entered into the CAD system that is case sensitive. So it's no different than mobile. Some high-level system requirements, iOS 10, Android 5.1. I already mentioned we're not planning on supporting Windows at this time. That's what Inform Mobile is for. You should be on CAD version 5.8, 6 or higher. And let's see, configuration, the CAD configuration utility. So that's just a simple toggle that's flipped. We already covered all of these things. So let's actually put this to the test here when we talk about easy to deploy. I've mentioned that a few times, and no VPN required. Let's turn it over to you, Mike, on your iPad. So on your iPad, let me launch. You can still see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Great. So let me show you what the web utility looks like. And we're going to actually add that device right now. So device management, here's who's currently logged into the system. Let's add a new device, Mike's iPad. And I've already pre-built you in CAD as Saratoga. I can put in any notes that I want to, that's optional. So go ahead, Mike, and launch Field Ops from your iPad.
Okay. It's launched.
It should ask you for an activation code.
Right.
Here's your activation code right here. So once you get that plugged in and fire away, I think it's going to ask you for a PIN next.
It's thinking.
Okay. And while Mike gets that going, again, this is where you would come in, add users, delete users, lock users out, reassign them a PIN. So this will expire here in some time. Excuse me. So I could set all these up, and then, you know, as the users out there in the field start getting logged in, it'll show activated. So once Mike enters his PIN and gets all logged in, hopefully we'll see that flip over to activated.
It initially had an error. Now it's just sort of spinning around.
Are you on Wi-Fi or cell, Mike?
Both. I can get off of Wi-Fi.
So you show activated on my screen. So that's good. What's it doing on your screen?
Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, it's just spinning. Let me relaunch it.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's asking for a username and password.
Okay. So your username is going to be case sensitive, all capitals, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, G as in golf, A as in Adam. And your password, let me know when you're ready for that.
So Saratoga is the username?
That's correct. STGA.
Okay.
And then your password is going to be TriTech1 exclamation mark. The only capitalized letter in that is the T. So capital T and then all lowercase RITECH1 exclamation mark.
Okay, then it's asking to enter a new PIN.
Now that PIN is personal to you. So we talked about security gates. That's another security gate. So you get to select whatever PIN you want to select, and that's used when you're logging back in. If it's timed out, maybe you've had the app closed for 10 hours type thing. Instead of having you relog back in completely, we treat it just like iOS does. Just enter a PIN that you can remember. It'll ask you to confirm that PIN, and then once you're done with that, it'll bring you to a page that probably looks a little bit like
Select your unit.
Yep. Now, for this example, don't select a unit, Mike. I want to show you that you can say no unit at the top there and get right into Field Ops, just like I was. And so you're going to be, let me know when you're in, and when you are in, you'll be in the Minneapolis system that I was just in, actually demoing.
Okay, yeah, I'm in the system now.
Cool, right? So within 3-4 minutes, we got you in with no complicated VPN or anything like that. And you can imagine with an email, you can get a lot of users logged in pretty quickly. And then couple that with a pretty intuitive UI, and you guys are up and running with limited assistance from us or the IT guys on your side or any training, really. So that's really what we're after.
So basically this web application is a device management, a user management system, right? Okay.
Yep.
And then, so I could see that this is something that we didn't see in the last demo. So our plan is to assign each unit that has an iPad in it as we'll give that unit a login, and those units that's how we would track where those units are, that people would use that iPad as the device that they're going to interact with communications on. It sounds like we could also take our administrators and give them separate logins so that they could sort of watch what's going on in their organization.
Yep.
I don't know that we necessarily, you can't have more than one device logged in as a unit, right?
That is correct, with the same unit name.
If somebody lost the iPad or they used a different device to log in and you wanted to log them out, can you do that through this portal?
You sure can. You can lock the, so let me open that portal again. Can you guys see the portal?
Yes.
Okay. So we can replace the device with a new name, and then we can associate it to a new user in CAD, or we can lock the device completely if we want to.
And if you locked it, could someone else then log in as the unit?
Let me think of how we would do that. So,
I guess the other question is, if it's idle for a period of time, does it just log out?
No, it will not log out. The only way, so if you just close this app right now, like if you double click that home button, swipe it up and just kill it. And that'll simulate, the Wi-Fi went dead, your battery went dead, you manually close the app like that, there's no confirmation from a CAD perspective that anyone has logged out. So it would still show the last known status in CAD as logged in or whatever their last known status was.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you would properly log out is if you hit the 3 little bars on the upper left and then selected the log out option.
Okay. So periodically, you don't have to go put your password back in.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I guess the other thing that we'd like to do is kind of walk through a call just so that when we use this later for people to see what happens. I don't know if you can bring your iPad back up and dispatch a call to it.
Let me bring my iPad back up here. So I'm not dialed into Minneapolis' test system myself. However, we can still show, there's really might be minute differences, and we did that on purpose because, again, we wanted to keep a consistent user experience and make it intuitive. So let me bring up my pointer again here.
And we could just talk through this, kind of like what happens when you're sitting there idle and you get a call assigned to you.
Sure. So if we're sitting here idling on the iPad, you can see my iPad, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if we're sitting here idling in any screen, it doesn't matter what screen that is, our first indication of a call will be either a pop-up up here at the top, depending on how our alert settings are for that device. Again, just like your normal iPhone. Do you want the pop-up to be in the middle? Do you want it to be at the top here? So whatever you have selected on that device to get your notifications, just like you do a text message or an email, you will get a notification just like that with the device agnostic sound. So whatever sound comes up for alerts on your device, that's what sound will come up. Once that banner has popped, the only difference from a user's perspective is you would see this assigned call section up here at the top of your incident list. So if you are not assigned to an incident, this box would not be here. You would only see your active and your waiting queue. So this is our indication that we are assigned to a call. We've gotten our pop-up box or alert, and from here you can simply change your status without even going into the call, or you can click on that active call that we were assigned to, and as we did in the beginning of this demonstration, you can see the specifics about that incident. From here, you would change your status here on the lower right, or you could add your comments here. Transporting to the hospital. Let's see where we have to, how it's built in this system. I'm going to have to guess. It's probably transport. Here we go. So transporting to the hospital in this system will require us to give the app that extra information that I talked about. That's a task item for me. I need to find out what the new version looks like. Is it a drop down, or do you manually type in the hospital and just say go? Clearing the call again, you would click your status. You would select your status, and then you could, oh, well, here it is right here. So it looks like,
yeah, so it just popped up.
Yeah, so let's check location name. I wonder if any are built in the system here. Just type HOSD. Also find out if it's a drop down or if you type it in manually. Yeah, it doesn't look like it auto-completed it. So you could enter all of these parameters that you want to based on your agency. Some capture everything, and then, some don't capture all of this information.
And that's probably configurable on our end, is what pops up for them to the additional information.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's really all that there is to it.
And then the unit goes back in service the same way. They change their status to go back in service.
That's correct.
One
to available, and you can see that that's been updated here. And then if we go back to the incident list, we should no longer see that dispatched call up there, and you'll see we don't. So that one that was in yellow up there is now gone.
So that was one of our other questions, is during the process of a call and after the call, is it possible to see the times that you had stamped for en route, arriving?
Yeah, another good question. So right now, incident times or a recap of the incident times are not currently part of this release.
Okay. So we'd have to log into a reporting system aside from this.
For now, yeah. I'll see
Okay.
if that's planned in a future release, and I'll get back to this group as well.
Okay. Pre-plans are not currently coming up on here, but that's in the development.
That's correct. So if you decide to move forward, you will have access to your pre-plans, and those come in as an attachment. So what you would see is you would see another line item here that says attachments, and then it would be a hyperlink to that pre-plan.
Mm-hmm. And then using this app, you can message back and forth to communications as well as between units.
Messaging is in the app as well, and yes, anything that you can message to, the answer is yes. Anyone that's connected via mobile, CAD, or even another Field Ops device will be able to message.
Okay. I think that's most. Steve, can you think of anything else that we wanted people to be able to see about this?
No, I think that covered most of it. Can't think of anything.
Okay. If you had a flag down, can you initiate a call from this app yourself?
That's interesting you asked that. So one thing I did forget to show, right now you cannot, let me find that out, because in this version, it looks like I don't have that enabled. They just released that, so let me find out if you can self-initiate a call. But one thing that was not in there just a week or so ago that is in there now is this option here to self-assign to a call. So I'll find out if that's released yet.
So in other words, self-assigned to a call that's already in the call list.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I guess that was a question because we have, for example, one of our ambulance services has a urgent care right next door, and they'll frequently call and say, can you send an ambulance over? And right now, then they're calling communications and say, generate a run card for this. If they could do it through the app, that'd be ideal.
Absolutely. So, you know, I don't think that's a problem. Let me find out and confirm that. I know that on the police side, they're already creating traffic stops or subject stops right from the app. So I don't see that as any different of just changing the code in the background and pointing that to a call type. But let me make sure that that's the case, and I'll get back to you all today.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
Fantastic, Mike. And Dan, that's all I have for the group also.
All right.
Okay. Steve, Carl, any other questions that you might have?
I do not.
Okay. All right, then.
No.
What we'll do is we will get back to the group with the answers that Freddie has documented questions for, and we'll make this recording available as well. I will